Hi everybody, it's Dan and we're back with the third in our series of tutorials of stuff to do with your website once it's done. And I want to again take this moment to reiterate that one of the big factors that I see coming into play with a lot of my clients in terms of whether their websites actually help them grow their business and really kind of do the work that you want it to do is whether you have a system and a plan in place for the stuff you're going to do with your website after it's done, right? Websites get better the more time and effort you spend with them. And so if you have kind of a step-by-step system of stuff you're going to use your website for and the ways you're going to use it, you're going to find that your marketing is more effective, that you're able to grow your audience really well, and that people are actually coming to and engaging with your website. So that's what these tutorials are all about. This week, we're talking about mentions. When I say mention, what I'm really talking about is anytime someone talks about you or your brand online. And these are actually really, really powerful tools to help us direct and guide our marketing. So what I wanted to do is shoot this quick video that's going to show you, one, how to set up a system that's going to automatically track mentions of your company and brand, and two, talk a little bit about how you can use that information to grow. So let's get right into it. On the screen here, you're going to see I have the Google Alerts page set up. You can find this by just going to the web address google.com/alerts. So that's google.com/ALERTS. And that's going to let you set up this free monitoring system. Now, Google Alert will basically just tell you anytime a new entry in Google shows up that matches that search term. So I can set up one right for you here on the screen. We can see how it works. Let's say I want to monitor my own company, which is called Two Friendly Nerds. Hopefully you know that if you're watching this video. So in this first box, search query, I'm going to type Two Friendly Nerds. Fairly simple. Now, you'll see over here on the right, it's going to pop up with the stuff that would pull up that I might be alerted by. And I can see my own website's there, I got my Facebook page. So these are all pretty, I got a YouTube video down here that I made. So these are all pretty accurate. Now, sometimes if your company is really kind of generic name, like let's say, your company's name is Joe's Plumbing, for example. What that's going to end up doing is kind of pulling up a lot of different stuff. Here we got a guy in Colorado, so maybe I don't want him, I want something else. So one easy trick we can do if we sort of feel like we're pulling up a bunch of inaccurate stuff is to put our search terms in quotes. So for example, I'm going to go back and I'm going to type in Two Friendly Nerds in quotes this time. That's going to make sure that it only pulls up instances where people have an entry that matches that exact search term. So not One Friendly Nerd or Two Friendly Nerd or whatever it is. It's only going to pull up this exact search term. So sometimes that can be useful if you find that your Google Alert results are matching what you want. But these look pretty good. So I'm actually going to get rid of the quotes. And over on the right, I'm going to just check, make sure that the things that pulls up look pretty good, and they do. That's the kind of stuff I want to be alerted by or about. So on result type, you're going to leave it as everything. You're going to see that you can search for just news or just blogs or just videos. Sometimes that's useful if you're trying to monitor for a specific kind of content, but I'm going to leave it on everything. I like to do it once a day. If you leave it as it happens, what's going to happen is that you're going to get a bunch of emails during the day whenever something pops up. So once a day is best for me. Now, when it says how many, I want you to take it down and look at all results rather than just the best results. Now what that's going to do is it's going to not filter out some different kinds of pages and different kind of site. It's also going to not filter out multiple entries. And that's important for our purposes down the road. So I want you to leave this as all results. And you can have it delivered straight to your email. And once you do that, you just click Create Alert, and that's going to take you to the alert management page where you're going to be able to see all your alerts. So fairly easy to do. And now we have a system where Google itself is monitoring the search results. It's looking for anything that matches our brand, and it's going to mail that to us. Now that's awesome. But it's only valuable to the point that we know how to use it, right? If we just kind of get it and we glance at it and we say, oh, that's interesting, we don't do anything with it, it's not really much value to us. So how do we go about using it? Well, I want to take an example, and I'm actually going to switch to my own personal system for monitoring this, which I have, that I used for some of my clients, which gives you a little more data. But for all intents and purposes, it's the same thing. And I'm going to show you how I use that. So if you think that you might be interested in more detailed data, or this is something that you're really interested in, it might be worth it to come and talk to me about how we could set this up for you. But let me show you an example of how I use this information. And again, this totally applies straight to Google Alerts as well. So let's say, I'm monitoring my own mentions and I'm keeping track of who's talking about me online. Well, obviously that helps me figure out, for example, who's linking to me. So if I find out that, some new website is linked to me, I could reach out to the person who wrote, let's say it's a blog post, I could reach out to the person who wrote that post and thank them, right? That's actually something that very few people do, but it has a huge effect. Remember, even though we're on the internet, it's all about people. There's always people behind all this content. And if you can reach out to them and engage them, they're going to be much more likely to send you more links, or maybe they'll be open to doing a joint venture or something like that. You also use this for social media followers. If people, for example, mention you in social media, it's often a really good time to reach out to them via social media as well and just say, hey, thanks for the mention. That's really, really kind of a best practice. But actually, the thing that, and a lot of people do this, right? That's a fairly obvious application. But an even better application of this kind of technology, monitoring who mentions you online, is to not even just think about who's mentioning you, but think about who's mentioning your competition. So I'm going to show you an example of how you can do that, which I find really interesting. So what I did was I went online and I just Googled CT web designer. Obviously, I live in Connecticut. I'm a web designer. I want to know who my competition is. And I find that the first people who show up are actually a web design company here in my town, Middletown, called A Squared Studio. So I know they show up above me. So I'm curious why that might be, right? And I want to kind of keep track of what they're doing and see if I could also do some of that stuff and maybe raise my own rank. So you can see here, this is their website. Very nice. I've actually met these people. They're lovely people. So this is their website, and I know it ranks fairly well. So I kind of want to know who's talking about them. So I have set up an alert for their company name. So I have a web alert set up for A Squared Studio, not my own name, but A Squared Studio. So when I do that, I get all this cool information that kind of tells me about where their links are coming from. For example, I can see on here that they have about 95 different websites that link to them with about 3,000 links. So what that tells me is that fairly concentrated number of companies linking to them, but they have a lot of sort of raw links. They also have 20 Facebook shares, 11 likes on Facebook, 1 tweet, so they don't do a lot of social media. And I'm kind of, down here, what you'll see on the screen is, this is the list of a lot of their links. And again, this is similar to what you might get in Google Alerts, but this just happens to have a lot more data, which is good for my purposes. I can see here, for example, on the left, the websites that are linking to them and the title of these web pages. I can see the link anchor text, which just means the text that they use to link to them. So for example, if I say, to download my ebook, click here. The words click here are the anchor text, the actual link text. That's useful because it kind of tells me why people are linking to them. It tells me a little bit about what they were thinking when they made that link. And these numbers over here, the page authority and domain authority, tell me a little bit about how reputable the website is that's linking over to them. The higher the numbers, the better in general. So I'm kind of looking down and I see that there are some websites here, it's these odd kind of articles. Now over here in purple you'll see that this says no follow. This means that even though they have a website link there, they're not getting any link boosting power from it with Google because of the kind of link that it is. So I'm going to kind of skip that. And I'm going to look down here and I see they have a link from the Community Foundation of Middlesex County, which is the county that I live in. And there's a link text here that says Web Design Connecticut. So I'm curious what that's all about. So I'm actually going to click over here, and this is the website. It's a pretty nice looking website. There's obviously some sort of nonprofit around here. And if I scroll down to the bottom, I can find where the link is, right? It says Site Design by A Squared Studio. So now I know that this nonprofit organization is a client of my competitor. Now, there's various ways I could try to use that information, but it's not really useful to me right now, so I'm going to X out of that. And I'm going to go back and look at the links and see if I can find something else a little more interesting. So down here, I see that there's this article at a website called justcreative.com. And it looks like a blog post because it has a date and it says top of mind marketing. And the link anchor text is a name, Claire. So I'm going to go over here and click on that link and see what it is. Now this looks like some sort of kind of like a design magazine sort of thing. It's pretty interesting. They've got a marketing article here. And I'm just going to do a quick search on this page to find that text, Claire, that was the anchor text. And down here I find a post from a person named Claire. And it says, very helpful list, or, you know, website designed to be cute, not straightforward. The products is likely to turn me off. So it's kind of just a forum comment. But when I look at the link behind the name, it links to A Squared Studio. So now I know for a fact that one of the people from A Squared Studio, I know her name is Claire, and I know that she is posting on this message board of this blog post. She's leaving comments. So this is a community that she's engaging with. Now, she may not be getting a ton of links back from her forum post, but now I know where she's hanging out. So maybe I want to hang out here. Or maybe this is a really good match for her target market. So if our target markets are similar, I may want to approach this Just Creative site about maybe writing an article, or maybe I want to start posting on these blog posts and start raising my own profile. So those are just a couple ways you can use the data that you find in these mentions to go out and sort of try to improve your own marketing. Another real classic way you can do this is that when you find that a competitor is being mentioned somewhere. For example, let's say I find that Claire from A Squared Studio writes a blog post on this site. Well, now I know that this site accepts guest blogs from other web designers. So I can now approach this blog and say, hey, you know, I know you did a similar article. I'd love to write this other article for you guys, and I know you already kind of do this, so, you know, can I set that up? That's a fantastic way to make sure that when your competitors are getting links and sort of going out and doing their marketing, you can be just behind them, one step behind them. So that'll sort of let you, close the gap and not let them kind of get away from you that way. So that's a really, really powerful technique. Beyond all the normal stuff where you just kind of monitor your own brand and make sure no one's, sometimes if someone leaves a negative review for you, that will show up in your brand mentions, and you can go and approach that person and try to get them to retract their review or make things better. So there's a ton of really powerful stuff here. Those are just some ways you can use brand mention tracking to really kind of guide your marketing, make sure that you are not losing a step to any of your competitors. So I really want you to think about setting this up and making sure that you're tracking not only your own brand, but that you're tracking your competitor's brand as well. And if you need help with that, or if you want to talk about some of the services that we offer that allow you to kind of do that with more data and get more value out of it, just let me know. You can drop me an email at dan@twofriendlynerds.com. That's TWO, friendlynerds.com. Thanks very much for watching the video. You are awesome, and I will talk to you soon.